Visitations by Ginzberg. Among the sorrows of David are the visitations that came upon Palestine during his reign, and he felt them all the more as he had incurred them through his own fault. There was first the famine, which was so desolating that it is counted among the 10 severest that are to happen from the time of Adam to the time of the Messiah. 111. During the first year that it prevailed, David had an investigation set on foot to discover whether idolatry was practiced in the land, and was keeping back the rain. His suspicion proved groundless. The second year he looked into the moral conditions of his realm, for lewdness can bring about the same punishment as idolatry. Again he was proved wrong. The third year he turned his attention to the administration of charity. Perhaps the people had incurred guilt in this respect, for abuses in this department also were visited with the punishment of famine. 112. Again his search was fruitless, and he turned to God to inquire of him the cause of the public distress. God's reply was not Saul a king anointed with holy oil? Did he not abolish idolatry? Is he not the companion of Samuel in paradise? Yet, while you all dwell in the land of Israel, he is outside of the land. David, accompanied by the scholars and the nobles of his kingdom, at once repaired to Jabesh-Gilead, disinterred the remains of Saul and Jonathan, and in solemn procession bore them through the whole land of Israel to the inheritance of the tribe of Benjamin. There they were buried. The tributes of affection paid by the people of Israel to its dead king aroused the compassion of God, and the famine came to an end. 113. The sin against Saul was now absolved, but there still remained Saul's own guilt in his dealings with the Gibeonites, who charged him with having killed 7 of their number. David asked God why he had punished his people on account of proselytes. God's answer to him was, "If thou dost not bring near them that are far off, thou wilt remove them that are near by." To satisfy their vengeful feelings, the Gibeonites demanded the life of 7 members of Saul's family. David sought to mollify them, representing to them that they would derive no benefit from the death of their victims, and offering them silver and gold instead. But though David treated with each one of them individually, the Gibeonites were relentless. When he realized their hardness of heart, he cried out, "3 qualities God gave unto Israel. They are compassionate, chaste, and gracious in the service of their fellow men. The first of these qualities the Gibeonites do not possess, and therefore they must be excluded from communion with Israel." 114. The 7 descendants of Saul to be surrendered to the Gibeonites were determined by letting all his posterity pass by the ark of the law. Those who were arrested before it were the designated victims. Mephibosheth would have been one of the unfortunates, had he not been permitted to pass by unchecked in answer to the prayer of David. 115, to whom he was dear, not only as the son of his friend Jonathan, but also as the teacher who instructed him in the Torah. 116. The cruel fate that befell the descendants of Saul had a wholesome effect. All the heathen who saw and heard exclaimed, "There is no God like unto the God of Israel, there is no nation like unto the nation of Israel. The wrong inflicted upon wretched proselytes has been expiated by the sons of kings." So great was the enthusiasm among the heathen over this manifestation of the Jewish sense of justice, that 150,000 of them were converted to Judaism. As for David, his wrong in connection with the famine lay in his not having applied his private wealth to the amelioration of the people's suffering. When David returned victorious from the combat with Goliath, the women of Israel gave him their gold and silver ornaments. He put them aside for use in building the temple, and even during the 3 years' famine this fund was not touched. God said, "Thou didst refrain from rescuing human beings from death, in order to save thy money for the temple. Verily the temple shall not be built by thee but by Solomon." 118. David is still more blameworthy on account of the census which he took of the Israelites in defiance of the law in the Pentateuch. When he was charged by the king with the task of numbering the people, Joab used every effort to turn him away from his intention. But in vain. Incensed, David said, "Either thou art king and I am the general, or I am king and thou art the general." Joab had no choice but to obey. He selected the tribe of Gad as the first to be counted, because he thought that the Gadites, independent and self-willed, would hinder the execution of the royal order, and David would be forced to give up his plan of taking a census. The Gadites disappointed the expectations of Joab, and he betook himself to the tribe of Dan, hoping that if God's punishment descended, it would strike the idolatrous Danites. Disliking his mission as he did, Joab spent 9 months in executing it, though he might have dispatched it in a much shorter time. Nor did he carry out the king's orders to the letter. He himself warned the people of the census. If he saw the father of a family of 5 sons, he would bid him conceal a few of them. Following the example set by Moses, He omitted the Levites from the enumeration, likewise the tribe of Benjamin, because he entertained particularly grave apprehensions in behalf of this greatly decimated tribe. 119 In the end, David was not informed of the actual number obtained. Joab made 2 lists, intending to give the king a partial list if he found that he had no suspicion of the ruse. 120. The prophet Gad came to David and gave him the choice of famine, oppression by enemies, or the plague, as the penalty for the heavy crime of popular census-taking. David was in the position of a sick man who is asked whether he prefers to be buried next to his father or next to his mother. The king considered, "If I choose the calamities of war, the people will say, he cares little, he has his warriors to look to. If I choose famine, they will say, he cares little, he has his riches to look to. I shall choose the plague whose scourge strikes all alike." 121. Although the plague raged but a very short time, 122, it claimed a large number of victims. The most serious loss was the death of Abishai, whose piety and learning made him the counterpoise of a host of 75,000. 123. David raised his eyes on high, and he saw the sins of Israel heaped up from earth to heaven. In the same moment an angel descended, and slew his 4 sons, the prophet Gad and the elders who accompanied him. David's terror at this sight, which was but increased when the angel wiped his dripping sword on the king's garments, settled in his limbs, and from that day on they never ceased to tremble. 124.